Let's run your very first Webots simulation in under 10 minutes. Hey everyone, my name is Kajal and welcome to my channel. In today's Webots tutorial, we will learn how to run your very first simulation by running a robot and creating your own object. In the previous Webots tutorial, I went over how to install Webots. I also went over various functionalities, menu options, and much more. I'll link it in the description below as well as in the top right corner. I'll also include other resources and timings for this video in the description below. So without further ado, let's get into it. We're going to start by creating a new Webots world. So for that, you're going to go in the top, File, New, and New Project Directory. The reason I'm creating a new project directory in Webots is so that you can have everything together, and that way in the future, you can also open this project up and have everything in one folder. Directory is also a folder. Click continue. As I mentioned, we're going to create a new folder. So go and choose wherever you feel ideal, create a new folder. I'm going to call mine my first Webots project and then open that. Click continue. Within this directory, you can have multiple Webots world. We're going to create our first one. Let's call it my first Webot world. Most importantly, make sure to check mark and select this add a rectangular arena. And then click continue. It's going to create all the basic things it needs to get started. And this is another reason I said let's have our own Webots project folder or directory so that all of these things stay together in one folder. Click done and it's going to load everything up for you. Your Webots world is going to start with some basic things such as world info, viewpoint, textured background, background light. This is how we are able to see, and the rectangular arena I mentioned. Now this is a top view and it's not great for me to see things. So I generally like to move things around. I'm using my mouse or touchpad. I'm using my touchpad to click and then move. You can use your mouse as well. And then I'm using 2 fingers to zoom in. Now this is a viewpoint I like, so I'm gonna go ahead and hit save. This is something that you need to remember with Webots. There's no auto save. So every time you make a change you're happy with, make sure to hit save. Now let's say I make more changes or I mess things up. I can either try to fix things or I can just hit reset simulation. And this is going to take me back to my last saved Webots world option. Now let's start adding some objects into our Webots world. In here on the left is your scene tree. I'm going to select rectangular arena. Now in Webots, world is a collection of nodes. So that's what we're going to start with. On the menu bar, click on this plus icon and it will take you to this page where you can add nodes. In the first one, we're going to go with some of the predefined Webots objects, which in Webots is going to be proto nodes. So click on proto nodes, objects, balls, and ball solid. On the bottom right corner, you have the option to click add. It's going to add the ball. Again, make sure to save your Webots world. Now I'm going to zoom in here so you can get a better idea. When I click on it, it selects the ball. When I click on the arena, which gives a better view of the ball. Back to our scene tree, if you select Webots and click on this arrow, it will take you to different options that you can change with this ball. For example, radius, right now it's 0.0325. Let's change that to 0.1. As you can see, it made the ball bigger. There are a few more settings you can change, including translation, rotation, color, mass, and so on. Now this is a predefined proto node in Webots, which means certain things are already created for you and you can change few of the aspects of this object, but not all of them. Now let's learn how to create our own object in Webots. So I'm going to close this up. Again, make sure to save your Webots world. Again, I'm going to click on something on the scene tree and then click on the plus icon to create a new object. As mentioned before, in Webots, everything is a set of nodes. We're going to start with a base node and we're going to click on solid. So we're creating a solid node with which we will create our own object. Click on add. Now, as you can see right now, it's just arrows on the arena and you can't really see an object, which is why we're now going to start adding things to this node to make it into an object. So click on the arrow again and go into children. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to give it shape. So again, click on the plus icon on the top, base nodes, and shape. Once again, click add. Now back to the scene tree, we're going to open the shape and we're going to go for geometry. Right now it's null. Again, click on the plus icon and in the base node, we're going to select the shape we want. You've got box, capsule, cone, cylinder, and so on. We're going to go with a sphere and then click add. Right now you should be able to see two balls in your Webots simulation. Let's hit save and then move one of them out of the way so it's easier to see. I'm simply clicking on the object and then clicking on one of the arrows to move it. Alright, back to our object. You can click it here on the Webots world, or you can go to the Webots scene tree and select it as well. So we've given our object some shape. Now let's add appearance. So under our node solid, children, shape, we're going to click on appearance. Again, we're going to click on the plus icon. We're going to go for base nodes and we're going to go for PBR appearances. And then click add. So under appearance, we're going to change our color. Right now it's RGB 111. Let's make this green. So I'm going to change red and blue to 0 and I'm going to keep green as 1. And this makes our ball green. You can go for red, blue or some other color combination by changing these values. Now right now the ball looks like a metal. So we're going to go into metalness and make that 0. And you can see it changed how the object looks. As always, remember to keep saving your Webots world. Next, we're going to give our Webot object some bounding box. We want our bounding box to be the same as our shape. So we are going to reuse this shape. So click on shape and at the bottom here where it says define, we're going to give it a name. Let's call it shape underscore ball. Then we're going to go back to our solid object down here on bounding object. Click on the plus sign and this time along with base nodes and proto nodes you will see something called use. And you will see the shape ball that we created and defined is now available for use. Go ahead and select it and click add. Basically in Webots, we have created a shape, defined it and are now using the same shape as the bounding object for our object. In your Webots world, when multiple objects interact with each other, the bounding object is going to define how these objects interact with each other and what is the bounding area for each of them. Next up, we're going to add physics. This is pretty simple. Again, click on the plus icon and there's one option called physics and add it. This gives it gravity. For now, you can see our ball is kind of combined with the rectangular arena. In Webots, when you add anything, by default, it gets added at 0, 0, 0. In the scene tree under solid, there's something called translation and we can use this to move our object. Now, if you're like me, you would be confused on what is X, Y, and Z in this Webots world. So I'm going to show you one hack. On the menu bar, go under View, Optional Rendering, and Show Coordinate Systems. When you click this, in your Webots world, it's going to create this axis, naming it X, Y, and Z. Personally, for me, this makes it easy to understand which is X axis, Y axis, and Z axis in my Webots world. So as you can see, to remove this, I want to change my Z axis. So let's make this 0.5 meter for now. If you would have noticed, previously I had selected my object and moved the axis directly. That same option still exists. You can select the object and okay, as you can see, this created a problem because it's changing viewpoints. So I'm going to zoom out a little bit more, select my object and click on this arrow and that allows me to move the object. And then I'm going to zoom in again. Okay, this is a view I like. I'm going to go ahead and hit save. So now we've got one predefined object and one object that we created on our own. If you want, you can also name this object. So on the scene tree, click on select, define, and let's call it my first ball. I know this was a lot, so I'm going to do a quick recap. We started by adding a solid node. Then under children, we added another node called shape. We gave it geometry by adding the node sphere, and we also gave it appearance, PBR appearance. And both of these have different attributes that we can change, such as color, metalness, roughness, and for geometry we've got radius. Then we defined this as a shape and reused it for our bounding object. Next, we also gave it physics. Again, this also has attributes that you can change, such as damping, density, mass, and so on. Next, you can also use translation and rotation to move the object around in the Webots world. And as always, remember to save your Webots world. So far, we've added objects. Now let's have some fun and add a robot. You're going to go back to your scene tree and click on the plus icon. We're going to use one of the predefined robots available from Webots. So go under Protonodes, Robots, GCtronic, epuck, and epuck robot. Alternatively, you can also go under this find section and simply type epuck, and it pulls up the same epuck robot. Go for the epuck robot and not the sample. Click on add. As you can see, it added the robot in your world. I'm going to click save and let's run our first Webot simulation. So go ahead and click on this play icon to run your Webot simulation. Now, did you see what happened? Our object collided with our robot, and this could potentially damage and not the kind of ideal experience you want in your Webots world. However, this did show you one, gravity, that's when the ball dropped, and two, how the objects are interacting with each other. If you had not created a bounding object for your ball, it would not have collided with the robot. Alright, let's reset our simulation. You can do this by clicking on this icon in the menu bar. And now this time, we're going to move things around so they don't collide. We can either move the sphere or we can move the robot. Similar to before, you can use the arrow icon or you can go onto the scene tree and change the translation here. I'm going to go ahead and just use this arrow and move the robot out of the way of the object. Alright, I'm going to zoom out a little bit. I'm happy with everything, so I'm going to make sure to save my Webots world. Let's hit play and run our Webots simulation. As you can see, this time the ball did not hit the robot. Now let's change the perspective here a little bit and see what our robot is doing. As you can guess, there's a code running on the robot. In Webots, this is called controller. So let's take a look at that. I'm going to pause my simulation and reset it. If you go on the scene tree, under epuck, there's an option called controller. And at the bottom, you can see what controller it is using. With select, you're able to choose a different controller. And with edit, it will open up the code that's being used. In this case, it's a C file. In Webots, you can write your controller code in C, C++, Python, and I believe MATLAB as well. In our next video, we're going to learn how to make our own robot and write our own controller code in Webots. Before you go, if you found this video helpful, make sure to give it a like, and if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next tutorial.